Thank you, everyone. So that's my lawyerly bio. But really today, I'm here as an organizer. And I suspect, like many of you today, I learned how to be an organizer from Emma Palladino. So I just want to say that one of the things that we do in the immigration rights space is we often share our own migration stories. It's kind of like a little bit of an icebreaker. And I think it's important that we know where we come from, and so that we can understand where we are now as a community. So I wanted to share just a little bit about my journey here in the United States. So I'm an immigrant. My family fled Iran here when I was 6 years old. And when I came to this country, I lived in a very small little apartment with cousins, like many of you, so a very full house. And I ended up getting put straight into school, even though I didn't speak any English, into school in Pacoima, California, which is down in Southern California. And if you don't know, Pacoima is very much like East Oakland or some other areas here where there's a lot of poverty. There is a lot of diversity, mainly populated by African American and Latinx populations. And so these were the kids that I found myself around. And my father had always told me how great America is, and that, you know, just wait, son, you're going to go to America, and you're going to love it. Well, I came to America, and it was very frustrating at first, of course, because I didn't speak the language. But the first sentence that I really learned how to say in the English language was actually the Pledge of Allegiance. You know, when you're in school, and you don't know what's going on because you don't speak the language, the best practice is every day in the morning, you get up and you say the Pledge of Allegiance. So I could memorize those words. And I remember when I finally learned what those words meant, I loved it. I just thought it was the coolest thing. You know, I stood up there with my classmates from all different backgrounds, from different countries, and even though many of us had issues with poverty and issues with immigration status, we all stood up together and faced the same way, and we said that pledge. And that last part of that pledge really stuck with me, right? One nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And that was something that I really grasped onto. And I said, you know what? My dad is right, this is the melting pot. This is fantastic, this is a land of liberty and justice for all. And that is the American promise that lives in our hearts as immigrants. But what I learned growing up in Pacoima is that that promise is not yet realized. That the issues of poverty, of racism, these things are cultural impediments to realizing the promise that that Pledge of Allegiance values and embodies. So, I learned English, fortunately. I have a Southern California accent, I'm from the Valley, totally. And I ended up realizing that these systems that were basically putting my classmates and their families in very difficult situations were pervasive, and that they had issues that tied to immigration status, that were tied to race. And so I became politically active when I was in high school. Many of you may not remember, but there was Prop 187 in California, the anti-immigrant bill. And so I tried to organize my high school. It was the first time I tried to be an organizer, really. You know, to protest, and we'd go to marches, and then there was the Gulf War, and we'd protest and go to marches. And it was really there that the seeds of building community and the strength of organizing really started to take root in my heart. And I eventually went to law school and became a lawyer, and I decided that what I wanted to do is I wanted to help those that were in the situation of the kids that I grew up with, in Pacoima, right? The kids that are caught up in the criminal justice system, the families that are deported or have to fight for their lives so that they're not returned to countries where they have no future, or even worse, where they can be tortured and killed. And I did it one client at a time. And it was great work, and it is great work. It's noble work. But I realized that I started to see that these systems themselves are broken. And that me as a lawyer, fighting for one client at a time, as important as that is to each individual client, I wasn't going to be able to change those systems by myself. I'd become siloed. I'd become someone that was working in a special subfield and not connected to the larger community. And so these cycles of poverty and discrimination that the Catholic Campaign for Human Development really focuses on addressing were things that really bothered me, and they were getting me down. Then the election happened. And a lot of those feelings that I had had as a young child coming to the United States, feeling like I wasn't a part of things, feeling like I didn't fit in, those things came back with a vengeance. And I'm going to be honest with you, that alienation hasn't quite left me yet. I'll still have days when I'm driving down the street and I look around and I feel like, do I belong here? Is this my community? Am I an outsider, right? This alienation is at the heart of what is plaguing our country right now. And what I realized is that I wasn't going to be able to do this alone. And then the most amazing thing happened. I got to meet Emma Paulino and Christina Hernandez and Christopher Martinez. And they really taught me how to empower each other, how we can do this together. And that the antidote to alienation is community, is making those connections with each other. There's a concept that Archbishop Desmond Tutu has called Ubuntu. I don't know if you're familiar with that. You are, excellent. So Ubuntu is the idea that our humanity, that we are only human in relation to each other. That I am because you are, that we are, right? This is a concept of interbeing. And in the work that we do, which is great work, it's not just about the services that we provide to the community, to those that are impoverished, to those that are caught up in the systems of oppression, in our criminal justice system, in our broken deportation system. It's not enough to just provide the services, but we need to build community, and we are doing that. So what they taught me, and what Emma taught me in particular, was really courage. Having the courage to go outside of your comfort zone. I'm a lawyer. I'm used to being in court. I'm used to writing briefs. But I'm not used to going out into the community and organizing others and finding ways to help other people find their voices and helping our communities and those that are less privileged among us amplify their voices. And I was taught that through the work that has happened in the last several years with Emma Paulino. And this work would not be possible if it weren't for the challenging times that we live in right now. There's a real bright side here, and I know it doesn't feel like that today of all days, right? It doesn't feel like we can have hope. But that is the trap, my friends. This challenge that we're facing right now is not only one of alienation, but it's one of fear. They want us to be afraid. They want us to be afraid of each other. They want others to be afraid of us. The antidote to fear is courage and hope. And if you can couple that sense of community that I talked about with that sense of courage, then we can meet these times and do amazing things. And that's what I've learned through working with the Oakland Diocese, frankly, who have really been just leaders in the last several years in transforming our systems here in the Bay Area. We've done so much. We started a Contra Costa Immigrant Rights Alliance, a coalition of lots of great organizations and individuals that are really holding our elected officials and others to account in Contra Costa County, and also providing really, really key services to the community. And we started the Rapid Response Network in Contra Costa County. And again, these are things that I was a small part of, but really the community did. It was the community voice that created these programs. And we would have learned how to harness that community energy if it weren't for the years of experience that amazing advocates like Emma Paulino brought to the table. So this is a time of tremendous opportunity. And programs like the Catholic Campaign for Human Development and the very deserving grantees are one part of this bigger picture. I'm really proud that I work with several of the grantees, and I would be remiss if I didn't give them a little shout out. Of course, Oakland Community Organization, and Mighty Impact. We're part of the Stand Together Contra Costa Alliance, and we're just very, very excited and honored that we can be a small part of this transformation here. So that promise, that dream that I had when I was a kid and I was saying the Pledge of Allegiance, right? I still wear this flag today, even though this country right now is a mess, as we all know, in many ways, right? But that promise that lies in the heart of all immigrants, right? The promise of one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, that is a promise that we must achieve. It will not be given to us. We have to work for it. And we have to work for it through community and through courage. And if we do so, together, along with amazing people like Emma Paulino, we can achieve that promise. We can achieve our country. And if we can do that here, especially here in the Bay Area, where we lead in the world, we can achieve our country and we can change the history of the world. And the time is now. So thank you. Thank you so much for being a part of it. And let's keep this going. Keep all the positivity going. That's what we need.